So I'm going to try recording myself for the first time ever, doing a video talking about my Catholic faith. And I know that the lighting and everything is horrible. The camera angle is horrible, but I don't have any tripods or anything like that. So I converted to Catholicism back in the end of 2020. Why did I do that? Well, it's a very long story, but back actually when COVID hit in about March of 2020, it all started when I started asking myself what the place of physical matter in worship is, and if matter matters at all in our faith. So when I began exploring this question, I began to realize that God gave us five senses, and if they were to be used for God's glory, why wouldn't they be used in worship, right? So that whole thing led me down a completely new path in my life, and I began to study out Anglicanism, I began to study out Orthodoxy, and then even Catholicism. My commitment to Sola Scriptura had really faded as well. So again, I started looking between Anglicanism, Orthodoxy, and Catholicism. Eventually, it just landed between Orthodoxy and Catholicism for me. And what ended up happening is I ended up reading on the papacy, found that I could not deny that even if half the church fathers talk about the papacy as being legitimate, then one of those overrides the other. So if half the church fathers are talking about the papacy and the other half don't really have a lot to say about it, or maybe they even say something kind of against it, then you kind of have to go with which one by default will override the other, right? So even if half of them talk about it in a way that is not obviously like we have today with Vatican I defining infallibility, but even if there's a little bit of those seeds there, then that's substantial. And that even those other sides of the coin that there might be some silence on the papacy, or there might be some things kind of against the papacy, that doesn't necessarily disprove it. But the other side, if it's there, it kind of overrides by default the other positions. So I had to go with Catholicism, which was a very scary truth for me, very scary journey for me to undertake, because I knew that I was saying no to everything that I ever knew in Protestantism for the past 10 years or so. That's a little bit of the introduction to my story. I can get into more, but I just wanted to keep it simple to start. Thanks.